things are always heating up in the legal world when it comes to the stars and whether the celebrities are fighting over a divorce or maybe they're suing the paparazzi. There's always plenty of court drama that's going on.
Yeah, Jonathan Burns, our attorney here, is here. Our attorney, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
We put you on retainer, baby. That's right.
I like that.
Here to talk about new celebrity gossip. You know, we've got tons of celebrity stuff. I kind of want to go local first and talk. This is a little celebrity local, though. You all remember when Charlie Sheen came into town like a year or two ago? It was after he was going, you know, crazy. And there was some D.C. police officers who gave him an escort from the airport to his gig on stage because, well, there's traffic, as we know, and lights and sirens. He even tweeted a picture of it going like, what, 80 or 90 miles per hour? You remember that picture?
Yep.
So now that police officer was demoted from commander.
Right.
He's suing for the demotion.
Right, exactly. So a guy named Hilton Burton, he was not involved in the escort, but he ultimately testified before the D.C. City Council. And before the D.C. City Council, he told the City Council that it's very regular occurrence that they do provide escorts to celebrities. And ultimately, he alleges in his complaint that he was thereby retaliated against after that and demoted 2 ranks.
Well, Police Chief Kathy Lanier says she did not write off on this. She didn't.
Right.
She didn't authorize this this escort from the airport.
Right, and she's very adamant and says it's against police department protocol, and she's very, very up in arms about the incident, and actually is being very, very vocal about it as well.
And wasn't the officer actually cleared of charges, and didn't the promoter actually pay back the overtime money?
Exactly. The promoter paid back the overtime money, so no money was lost by the police department. But he ultimately, Mr. Burton's claimed that he was demoted and retaliated against strictly for his testimony before the D.C. City Council. But
then Lanier says, the chief of police says, no, that's not why. It was on his performance as a whole, she claims. That's why he got the demotion. So where could this go in court?
Well, it could go a number of different places, but he's seeking a $6 million judgment. So he's suing for $6 million in punitive and compensatory damages, and he's also seeking to get reinstated to his commander position. So I think he's trying to allege a lot of things. I can't imagine he's ever going to see $6 million. I don't think the police department acted with maliciousness, with malice to obviously effectuate such a judgment to that degree. I think it might ultimately settle. I think they're going to try to get this under the radar as quickly as possible.
You know, what does it feel out there? A lot of people talking about this. If they believe what the police department is saying as their excuse to demote the commander in light of what happened with the Charlie Sheen case. I mean, it's kind of like, really?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. So, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting how this unfolds. And let me important thing to note, this is not the first time this gentleman sued the police department. He sued in the past for discrimination. He actually sued Kathy Lanier in her personal capacity for some type of claim as well. So he's pretty litigious.
Yeah, work can't be too much fun.
No, I imagine so.
Right now around that guy. I mean, you'd be too scared to say the wrong thing next to him, you know?
Right. No, you're completely right.
Did he prevail in any of those earlier cases?
He settled out. So, I mean, nothing was really disclosed in terms of the settlement.
Interesting. All right, J-Lo's in the news. Now, J-Lo is accusing her former driver of blackmail. What's going on, Jonathan?
Yeah, so it's an interesting case. So her former driver and former security officer actually sued her back in April for a breach of a purported security arrangement. So she is countersuing him for $20 million for extortion and defamation. So I think it's one of those cases where she's using this countersuit as leverage to ultimately try to get him to basically relinquish his claim against her.
And what does he say that she did?
Well, he's saying that she basically breached a contract they had for him to provide security services for her. And now she's saying that he is ultimately extorting her. He's saying that he told her that you have to pay me $2.8 million or I'm going to disclose some sensitive and personal information I learned over the course of our employment.
Well, what does he have on
blackmail.
Exactly. I mean,
but I mean, how do you prove these things? It's he said, she said. Where's it going to go?
Right. And I think, I mean, again, I think she's using this as leverage. I mean, oftentimes you see people counterclaim or countersuit just to put the other person in a bad position too, so you ultimately can settle or get the claim.
Yeah, your gut feeling is settlement?
either settlement or she will have enough leverage over him for him to kind of dismiss his claims voluntarily.
Now, don't the stars usually have some kind of a contract with any employee that works for them, that anything that goes on is private and cannot be disclosed? Those are kind of standard,
and Jennifer Lopez did have that. So, and that's been alleged in her counterclaim, too, that he can't disclose this information even if he wanted to, because he'd be in violation of their non-disclosure.
But he's trying to use anything he can to get that money, it looks like.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to another celeb, Mike Tyson. So he's performing on stage at a theater, and there was a threat over Twitter.
Right.
And fill us in about this one.
This is a really, really interesting issue. So, I mean, Twitter, NYPD had to subpoena Twitter to disclose the identity and IP address of this individual that basically made threatening tweets against the Long Acre Theater where Mike Tyson's currently performing. And the tweet was very, very, very threatening. The tweet said, people are going to die at Long Acre just like they did in Aurora, obviously citing to the Aurora massacre that took place a few weeks ago. And what's interesting here is the police had to get a subpoena because Twitter would not voluntarily relinquish that information. So obviously people are up in arms about that and questioning, why wouldn't Twitter release that information voluntarily? Why did the police department have to get a court order to get that information?
Well, anything online and social media sites like that, don't they say everything's private? I mean, they really aren't they bound not to disclose your
Twitter
personal
has they have a policy, an internal policy that allows them within the organization, within the company, to release information if they believe there's an imminent threat that's specific and obviously very, very imminent. And based upon their analysis and their examination of this threat, they did not believe it was imminent.
You know, that's interesting, but I wonder what the timeline was, because sometimes it's just, hey, for red tape, get this sheet of paper in and we're going to give it to you as soon as we can. Do we know the timeline between when the tweet was sent out and when police got the information on the individual?
Well, I think the police requested the information from Twitter relatively quickly. Twitter turned them down, and then they had to issue the subpoena, and they had to get the court to issue a subpoena to actually get that information from Twitter.
So they have the information now?
They now have the information. They've identified and located the individual, and they're currently investigating that case.
All right.
A lot of people hide behind Twitter or Facebook and make these irresponsible either accusations or threats, and I'm hoping it was just somebody that, you know, really wasn't going to try to do it. But there's so many people that do that, and let this be a lesson that, you know, your words are strong and powerful, and they're going to get you in trouble. Right.
And the First Amendment does protect that to some degree. The First Amendment does protect anonymous speech, but it does not protect threatening speech.
I know, you do something like that, you have to be taken seriously.
You have to be taken seriously, and I think.
All right, the last one here, you've got the Tucson shooting update, and suspect Jared Loeffner is in court now.
Yeah, Jared Loeffner actually entered into a plea deal on Tuesday where he agreed to plead guilty to 19 of the charges in exchange for the prosecution taking the death penalty off the table.
Now, did I hear it right? His attorneys basically said he is insane? There was a quote somewhere.
Yeah, and they've acknowledged that he's definitely schizophrenic. He talks, he has voices. I mean, he's definitely insane to some degree. The court issued a judgment on Tuesday that he was fit to stand trial for the first time. So in the past, he hasn't been fit to stand trial. So he's been medicated over the last few months, and now they finally found him fit to stand trial, and then they ultimately entered into this plea agreement.
Did I hear somewhere that there may have been a bit of remorse come out of his mouth over some of these killings?
I think he was slightly remorseful. I don't think it was anything too overboard. I think he is definitely mentally ill, and I think he faces, you know, definitely a number of different problems.
All righty, well, good breakdown today. I mean, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff all at once. We'll see what happens. Good to have you on, Jonathan.
All right, thank you as always.
Thank you.